Hi everyone. I want this to be a very brief video. I mean, even more brief than the first two, which I thought were going to be short, and they ended up a little longer than I wanted them to. I just have I think it's about three really key points that I want to make sure that everyone understands that we're all on the same page. Let's begin with, as I see your project proposals developing, I am very excited. A lot of excellent ideas. The proposals are really already starting to come together just with your posts. One thing that's important to understand is that your clinical question in your project proposal now becomes a little bit different, should have a little different format than the PICO question. Your PICO question that you developed for your State of the Science paper, or perhaps you've put a PICO question in here in the PICO format. PICO questions help you help guide your literature search, your evidence review. So that's why it's important to have that PICO format. For a clinical question, you want to change that a bit so it doesn't have to follow the PICO format. What you want to say for a clinical question is something like, in X patients, does the implementation or does this intervention result in a reduction in something, an improvement in something? Does it result in better patient outcomes? Very simple, a clinical question. You want to answer the question, does the implementation of something, your evidence-based practice intervention, does the implementation of that result in better patient outcomes, reduction in falls, reduction in something, or improvement in something? So please begin to think about that, and your faculty members should also be helping you change your questions if they're still in the PICO format. All right, so the second thing I want to say that's really vital for everyone to understand is that we want you to be doing a practice improvement project, something that you implement in a practice in a site. Hospital unit, clinic, primary care practice, wherever that may be, a practice improvement, something that you implement in the practice that you want to become the standard of care in that practice for all patients in a certain target population. What that means is we want you to gather aggregate data. We don't want you to follow specific patients. So you don't want to gather data on a group of patients, say their BMI, and then teach them something about diet or exercise, and then check their BMIs afterwards. That's called human subjects research. Now you're working with human subjects and you're following them from pre to post intervention. If you do that, you have to go through IRB, full IRB. It's a very complicated process. Not that you can't do that, we just really encourage you not to have to go down that path and deal with the IRB application because it's very complicated. It takes months to get approval from the IRB for something when you are working with specific patients. When you implement a practice improvement and you gather data, and that data is extracted in a way where it becomes aggregate data, meaning it's not patient specific, there are no patient identifiers, you just have a set of data, you implement an intervention to try to improve some process that will improve patient outcomes, and you gather aggregate data again afterwards. That's what a QI project looks like. That's when you can utilize the QI checklist and you don't have to go through IRB. All right, then the third point that's really vital is that the presentation schedule is out and should be well set now, and no one can begin a project until several things happen. One, no one can begin any part of a project until you come to campus and present your project and get approval from the faculty. Two, that we ensure that either the QI checklist is in place so that you do not have to go through IRB, or if you have to go through IRB application, you certainly cannot begin any part of a project until you get approval from the IRB. Three, no one can begin a project until they are in a residency program, residency course. Most of the postmaster students are in residency now or will be in residency in the summer, and they can begin once they're in residency. And if you're a postmaster student and you're in residency right now, you can't start until you get approval from the faculty, but then you could go ahead and start your project since you're already in residency. Post-baccalaureate students, I think the majority, if not all of you, don't start residency until August, which means you cannot begin your project until August, until you're in the residency course. You can get retrospective data from the summertime. That's fine if that's part of how your project works. You just can't start any part of the project until you start the residency course. So I want to make sure that all of those things are clear. If you have any questions, please be sure to check with your faculty member, your group faculty member, and if they can't answer the question, feel free to email me, and we'll make sure that everyone is on the same page. Thanks a lot for listening. Take care, and look forward to seeing all of the project proposals continue to develop.